Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and in this video I'll be going over the various discounts and bonuses that are now active in GTA Online as of Thursday the 3rd of June 2021. All of these are going to be available for 1 week until Thursday the 10th of June. The podium vehicle this week is the Entity XXR, which can be won by spinning the lucky wheel in the casino. It's in the Supers class and normally sets you back just over $2.3 million. A car that is plagued by the first iteration of advanced handling flags that make it terrible to drive. It's also slower than the original 2013 Entity XF. More of a collector's item for the podium this week then. The premium race this week is Boots on the Ground, which is an old style lap race in Fort Zancudo for the motorcycles class. You're probably going to be best off with the Hakucho drag around here, making sure to lean forward as much as you can, or you could try one of the higher top speed bikes because there's really nothing to this track. Also, the regular town trial this week is Great Ocean Highway, which you can see being completed later in the video alongside the premium racetrack, with the RC town trial being Cypress Flats. In terms of regular vehicle discounts, it's a supercar week this week. You'll get 40% off a number of really nice to drive B-tier supercars, with the Tempesta costing just under $800,000, the Osiris setting you back just under $1.2 million, and the FMJ taking just over $1 million out of your bank. As I said though, these are only B-tier supercars, so while they're great if you're limiting your racing with friends, they can't compete with the top supercars these days. If you want something even slower, you can get the C-tier Reaper for 40% off as well, alongside the same discount on the Armoured Kuruma and 35% off the Ruiner 2000. You can of course find out the lap times, top speeds and tiers of all the vehicles that I've mentioned here by checking out the playlist and video links in the description and pinned comment. In terms of discounts specifically for Amazon Prime Gaming members who've linked their Rockstar Social Club accounts, you'll get 80% off the Sultan Classic and Patriot Stretch, plus 60% off the Vagrant just like last week. Also, if you do have Prime Gaming and you haven't already, make sure you're giving your free subscription to a Twitch streamer each month as well. It doesn't have to be me, but make sure you're giving it to someone as you're basically supporting them with a $2.50 donation without any extra cost to you. Other miscellaneous bonuses this week include triple money on old style land races, plus double money on special cargo cell missions and business battles, which even with double money isn't worth it because Cayo Perico is much more profitable. There's also 60% off offices, 50% off special cargo warehouses, and 40% off high-end apartments and casino penthouse. In terms of my deal of the week, I think I have to go with the Tempesta this time. If you're doing B-tier supercar races in a community or with friends, the Tempesta is more often than not going to be the best choice for those races. It's also just a really nice, easy car to drive quickly. And now it's time for the news and discussion segment of the video where I ramble on for a few minutes about something while you watch me complete this week's time trial and showcase the track for the premium race. So the main thing that I wanted to talk about here is actually related to a tweet from Wild Brick on Twitter, obviously, which I'll leave a link to in the description. But it basically, with the new races that were added last week, obviously we got some new stunt races, 2 new raceable classes have been found in the game files by Wild Brick for those races. Those 2 new classes are go-karts and car clubs. Now, these are listed in the section with other non-standard raceable classes, like Contender for arena vehicles and Special for things like the Ruiner 2000. So, even though there is a go-karts class for these new races, at least in the game files on the back end, we're not gonna suddenly see a go-karts class in-game that the karts are going to move into. The karts are going to stay in the sports class. It's just that there will be specific races where you can set it to go-karts such that it will only be the go-karts that are allowed to be used in those races. It's just the same way that arena works, where when you load up an arena job, the class is Contender, but there is no real Contender class. You know, the arena vehicles are in muscle class, they're in sports, they're in off-road, those normal classes. So although we're not going to suddenly see, karts are going to remain in the sports class, at least hopefully they're going to be raceable in some way. And it's frustrating, honestly, that it's taken this long. Did Rockstar really think that we didn't want to race the karts and they've had to scramble to come up with a solution and develop something between the last DLC and this one? I don't know why they wouldn't just wait with releasing the karts until the functionality was available to race them. Like, what has been the point over the last 6 months of having them when you can't race with them? So I don't know, it's either an oversight or they just genuinely didn't think people would want to race with them, which is kind of strange. But it's good to see that at least in the back end there is some code there that suggests we're going to get kart races, and in the next DLC let's hope that we do get them. It remains to be seen how it's going to work with the creator. Will you be able to create kart races? Will it just be another class that you can select in any race type and it will just be locked to those karts? Who knows, it's all up in the air, but at least there's evidence there that shows that we will be able to race these go-karts in some form. As for the car clubs section of that, it's probably related to the implementation of the summer DLC, which at this point I wouldn't be surprised if it was called something like Los Santos Car Clubs or some variation of that, like the Los Santos Summer Special this time last year. I imagine there'll be some functionality there where we'll be able to create car clubs, and the new cars that they're going to be adding with the DLC are going to work together with that functionality, and maybe there'll be new race types that will only allow those new cars, to dilute the racing landscape even more. Does anybody even remember Target Assault races that were just for the Caracara? The car club stuff, if they're going to go down that same route of races specifically for those cars and some variation, they're not just going to be normal races, they're going to have something special or unique to them. It has the potential to end up like those Target Assault races where they're just completely forgotten about. So they do need to implement things in a way that makes sense when it comes to these car clubs. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, I'm hoping at least that it doesn't mean that these new cars will only be usable in car club races as well, and not in regular races. These cars, if they're going to be in sports or supers or muscle or wherever they're going to be, I hope that we can still be using them in regular races, because the problem is with Rockstar, I think, with racing and the class system, it's just such a mess now, and they've got so many different classes and so many different types of races that it becomes such a mess. The stunt races really are the default creation method for even high level regular races for the community, but there's so many cars that you can't use in those stunt races, and if you want to use transform races to get other vehicles, they're limited to 16 players, and it's just all such a mess. So we'll have to wait and see what the implementation is, but I'm also hoping that they'll maybe simplify it a little bit, or give us a bit more freedom with the type of cars and the type of races that we can create. As usual, I'll be back with another video just like this next Thursday, the 10th of June, where we'll go through everything that's changed once again. Feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.